Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 6th meeting of the Walton County Planning Commission. Any of you have calls to do so. If you can't make one of our meetings, just wanted to let you know that you can also see all of our meetings. They're broadcast on Walton County Facebook Live for any of you who are not able to attend for whatever reason, as well as the Board of Commissioners meeting. And also all the cases that are being heard tonight, those will all move to the Board of Commissioners meeting on March the 4th. And the next Planning Commission meeting will be on March the 6th. And with that, I am going to ask Tim Kemp if he will open us in prayer. And then when he's finished, if you guys would join us for the pledge, we would greatly appreciate that.
Sure will. Excuse me. Let us bow. Heavenly Father, we thank you again one more time for having us here, representing this great county and this country in which we live. Heavenly Father, let the decisions that we make be a blessing to this county, to the people that are involved. Bless this board, Lord. Let us make these decisions that is beneficial to all in this county in which we live. We ask you for your blessings in your holy name. We pray. Amen.
Thank you. Will you please join us for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, I'm going to open up our meeting and the agenda for the evening and show via our roll call that all members are present tonight. So certainly thankful to have everyone here and in good health. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the minutes from the December 12th meeting. We did not have a meeting in January, but the December 12th meeting. And if everyone's had a chance to review those. If there's no modifications or changes that need to be made, I will take a motion for approval of those minutes.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as is.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed for any reason? All right. So on the agenda for the evening, we have no old business. So we're going to move right on into our new business. Our first case for the evening is Z240059 to rezone 9 acres from OI R1 to B2 for an office building with associated storage for commercial purposes. The applicant owner is Fisco Limited, property located at 6285 Highway 20. Is the applicant here? Their representative is here. Please come up and state your name and tell us what your client has planned for this property.
Right. Good evening. My name is Andrea Gray, and this evening I have the pleasure of representing Fisco Limited and the request to rezone 9 acres from O1 R1 to B2 for an office warehouse retail development. The property is located between 2 proposed roundabouts on Highway 20 in Loganville. It's just south of Centerville Rosebud Road and just north of Center Hill Church Road. GDOT, I believe, had the funding let last year, so I think construction will be getting underway on both of those shortly. The property is owned by Fisco Limited. My client, Rashid, who is here with me tonight, he purchased that property back in 1998, so he has been the owner for quite some time. Here's a little closer view of the property. You can again see the zoning. It's less than 500 feet from another property that's zoned B2. We've seen quite a transition coming in this area over the years with the anticipation of those roundabouts coming, and then also with the Copart development, which is zoned B3 just to the north there. The property is in the highway corridor in the future land use map, which is suited for B2 zoning and anticipated to handle a lot of our community's retail, commercial, office type uses. You can see that the highway corridor area encompasses the other commercial properties in the area, Copart, and then many of the residential portions of this area as they start transitioning to a more commercial use. So what are we proposing? Well, we're proposing to do office warehouse. So here's a depiction of what my client intends to develop there. It's a very attractive design, definitely upscale, no metal siding. This is not a self-storage facility. It is an office with a warehouse or storage area attached. So you can't buy or rent a storage space without also having the office that's attached. There would be no outside storage here. We'll comply, of course, with all county ordinances regarding down-facing lighting, parking, and all those things. Potential uses that we see here, wide variety of what's available under B2, but, businesses needing warehouse spaces and office fronts, potentially professional offices, and again, a wide array of uses could be appropriate for these buildings. The retail component, again, my client is going to build an upgraded version of maybe what you think of a strip mall is not a strip mall anymore when you add lovely brick accents, stone, stucco, windows going from, floor and up, a little bit more attractive than some of the older designs that we see, and variation in roof pitches, again, a very high quality development. Here's the site plan. As was shown in your packet. I guess first thing you'll notice is that there's a lot of green area. We're really only developing, I guess, less than maybe half of the property, and we've pushed that development up towards the highway, up towards 20, leaving a lot of space around the development to protect the adjoining property owners. We're proposing 20 office warehouse units, so 10 on each side, and then 10 retail units totaling about 12,000 square feet. The detention pond will be sited up against 20 because that's the low spot of the property there. You'll see in the dark green that there are buffers around the property. It'll be a 50-foot buffer, but we're leaving the existing mature trees that surround the property. The light green area in the middle part will be the septic drainage field. This is not a sewer project, it is a septic project, but we've left ample room to accommodate that here. And then additional green space that just wouldn't be developed as a part of what we're proposing. Through the screening and the site design, we've made accommodations to help mitigate the impacts to adjoining property owners. My client's proposing on the north side of the property. He went out there and looked at it, and yes, there are mature trees there. Absolutely, there's huge pine trees. But to add more adequate screening to those neighbors where the development is closest to, he's going to add evergreen plantings in that buffer to help screen from where the development will sit. So that's the entire northern property boundary. We're also taking measures to help mitigate any potential impacts from water runoff. The detention pond is going to be sized to accommodate a 100-year storm. The Georgia Stormwater Management Manual only requires a 25-year storm, but we're going to upgrade that to help make sure that water from this development is flowing right into that pond. Of course, Walton County will oversee to make sure that we're meeting all those requirements and make sure that there's no unintentional impacts to neighboring properties. So key attributes to this project to take note of, again, it's consistent with the future land use plan and how this area is evolving with commercial uses and the two roundabouts. It provides the nearby residents convenience. They have a place to shop, potentially eat, get their nails done, get their hair done without having to drive back into Snellville, Loganville, or Monroe. It would be convenient to a lot of neighborhoods in the area. We're adding screening and site design to mitigate impacts to the adjoining property owners as best we can, again with the evergreen plantings and essentially an oversized detention pond. And again, less than half the site is being developed. It's a 9-acre parcel, and we've really pushed it up to the front of 20. And also it's a quality development. This is not a metal-sided self-storage facility. This is a nice cement wall office warehouse development with retail on the front. So with that, again, our request is to rezone the 9 acres at 6285 Highway 20 to B2 for an office warehouse and retail development. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so very much. Any of the board members have any questions for Ms. Gray?
I know this site plan is pretty conceptual,
Yes.
but do you think that the parking shown for the retail is adequate, being single-loaded?
There we go, sorry. Well, our engineer did draw it based on his understanding of Walton County ordinances, but we have not asked for any variances, so we will absolutely have to meet all ordinance standards on parking.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? So, Andrew, I've got one or two. When you went through, I understood you to say that everything would be downlighting?
Right.
Okay, so that being part of anything that we look at is acceptable terms to your client?
Sure, absolutely, and it's required by your ordinance.
Well, I understand, but
Yes, but yes.
yes, okay. That, because, lighting's always a
Of course.
concern, so just always like to kind of make sure. And the office warehouse space in the back, is there any concept of hours of operation? Will it be where there's traffic going in there 24 hours? Also, being when you mentioned warehouse, will that be where tractor trailers will be able to unload at those locations, or is it a type of warehouse? What kind of setup would it be there?
Sure, so I guess that's like 2 or 3 questions, but
Yeah.
I'll start with the last one.
Well, it's easier for me just to get them all out.
Yes, sir. There would be bay doors into the warehouse areas in the back so that, people that have an office and they have larger boxes and whatnot, or even medical equipment that they have to get in, would come in through that back way through the warehouse. So there would be trucks coming back there to unload things into those warehouse areas. Hours of operation, I have not discussed that with my client, but since we're anticipating this to be an office warehouse use, more, typical office hours and retail hours is what we were envisioning for that development.
Right. So when I have you come back up for your rebuttal, do you think you could address that question with your client? And
Yes, I
then-
can.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yes, what type businesses he's trying to attract to this particular facility?
So on the retail side, as I said, just businesses that support the local area, nail salon, hairdresser, a small restaurant, those types of things for the retail. And then the office warehouse could be anything from, a doctor's office, urgent care center, those types of businesses that need a front office and additional storage areas.
Can I ask for additional clarification on Tim's question about the access?
Yes.
Are you saying that the access will be on the front side, or there will also be access on the, bay doors on the back side?
There would have to be bay doors on the back side as well.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question
Oh,
on
got
that
one more.
parking. You don't show in this drawing that there's any kind of space behind those buildings to pull in. What's the size of those parking lots behind the buildings?
Not really a parking lot, just an area for trucks to pull through. So I don't have it sized. Again, this is a conceptual plan, but we will have to meet all Walton County ordinance requirements for that. Again, no variances requested.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Thank you. Is anyone here in opposition of this request? Yes, sir. If you don't mind, if you could step to the podium and state your name and address, and let us know what your concerns are, sir.
My name is Lamar Dawson, and I've lived in Walton County all my life. And my concern is, I live at 6311 Highway 20, Loganville. And I got about 350 road front there. And Mr. Rusher, he's probably got 400 feet. and I'm right in the middle of those two turnarounds. And tractors and trailers coming in there, and y'all know how bad 20 is. Tractor trailers coming out, and I'm right in the middle of it. And trying to get into 20, and these trucks and all is still gonna be in second and third gear when they come by my house. And both ways. So you can imagine what kind of noise and what kind of exhaust fumes is going to be coming from that. That's my main concern. Even for the owner that's wanting to zone this place. That's my main concern right there. That traffic coming into 20. It's going to be something else for people that live right there. And the neighbors I talked to, I went to Miss Mitchell, that wanted to come, but she just had some eye surgery. And I talked to Mr. Can't think of his name. He lives right in front of it. He was wanting to come, but he had some kind of, anyway, the other person that wanted to come had a death in Dothan, and he had a funeral at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock today, and he couldn't come. But anyway, my main concern is I don't have no objection for what he's trying to do. My concern is 20, getting in and out of there. That's going to be a problem, a big problem for anybody that travels that road every day. And it's already bumper to bumper, and I sit in my driveway now, sometimes 5 to 8 minutes trying to get into 20. And can you just imagine what it's going to be between those two turnarounds if we got traffic coming in and going out there? That's my main concern. And like I said, I've lived in Walton County all my life. I don't have no objection to what he wants to do, but my main thing is that traffic for the people that lives there. And like I said, I don't have no objection to what he's trying to do, but my concern is the traffic.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it. Anyone else in opposition to this request? And, sir, I know you're on your way to take a seat right there, but one thing that I do want to mention before Ms. Gray comes back up for rebuttal, that on a project like this, there has to be a traffic study done by the county. On this one, it would be the state, before the entry, and how the entry has to be installed. It has to meet certain standards. So there will be a traffic study done prior to the issuance of any building permits. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a lot of places in the county, there's a lot of problems. Then again, we got places all over the state, there's a lot of problems. So traffic is just an issue. But we appreciate your concern. Thank you so very much. No one else? Andrea?
All right. Well, I appreciate Mr. Lamar speaking this evening, and again, just want to reassure him my client intends to be a very good neighbor to you. I think you've been neighbors for a very long time already. So I did want to address some of the concerns noted and get back to you, Mr. Hinton, on some of the questions you had. But first, with regard to traffic, I think, the traffic circles that GDOT has proposed, and they've done extensive studies and have extensive funding to do this, are supposed to help the traffic in this area. And so I think, I think I have a little faith in GDOT that they did some good planning and that that'll help slow things down in that area. But certainly understand his point as well. We do not intend for tractor trailers. I got clarification. We're not intending for tractor trailers to come through the site, just trucks with, that can haul things, not maybe like a Penske type truck, but not a tractor trailer coming through. So I got clarification on that. With regard to the operating hours, it would be anticipated that office uses would be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., just normal office hours. Retail, as we know, usually goes a little bit later, usually starts a little bit later, maybe 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Is what we see, for most of those types of businesses and this type of development. So with that, I think I've hit the highlights and answered your questions, but I'm happy to answer any additional ones that you have.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? All righty, thank you. So with that, I will take a motion for rezone request Z240059.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve as submitted. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, thank you so very much. And just a reminder, this will go to the Board of Commissioners on March the 4th, and you guys are welcome to be at the meeting there as well, okay? Thank y'all. Next on the agenda for the evening, Z240065. This is to rezone 9.05 acres to B3 for a tree service and auto repair shop. The applicant owner is Jose Alexander. Lemus property is located, the property is located on Highway 78. I'm going to take it that this is a raw parcel of land that does not or has not been identified with a a box number, a mailing address number. Okay, very good. Is the applicant for this property here? You're not an applicant, you're a representative. Is the representative or applicant here? All right, now you can come up. I'm just saying. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
It's better to be alive than underground.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Tip Huynh. I'm with Alcovy Consulting Engineering at 485 Oxford, Edwards Road in Oxford. And my client, Mr. Alexander Lemus, is here. The property is 9.05 acres on Highway 78, and you can see it's currently vacant. I have spoke with Georgia DOT, Mr. Christopher Hash, and this stretch of Highway 78 is a limited access, and the only place that we can access the property is currently where we propose it. And
I've got your site plan up there.
okay. And my client, he currently owns a tree service company. It's called Performance Tree Service, LLC. He's currently in Loganville, but in the Gwinnett side of Loganville. And he intends to put up his business here at this location, and also have an auto repair shop on this 9 acres. So it will be a very limited use. He does want to request a B3 zoning, mainly for some of the outdoor storage activity that's associated with his tree service and the auto repair. So we are proposing we are keeping the transitional buffer as it is. We're not requesting any variance. So and we are providing as big a decel lane that DOT would require in order to provide some slowdown in that stretch of the road. You know that traffic is very fast in this area, and so we have had a lot of conversation with DOT, and they are okay with the location. They do have some question about some profile and other design questions that we will address during the design phase, but they are okay with this proposed location. We're currently, this vacant track, we'll keep the 50-foot buffer along all of the A1 zoning adjacent to it. And so this will be a very private, very secluded area. The amount of traffic going in and out of the proposed project would be very limited. He does have crews that come in the morning, but they'll mostly be coming in and then going to the job site doing cutting trees and grinding. So They will not be there for most of the day. He does intend to operate from about 7 a.m. to about 6 p.m. And I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Okay, thanks, Tripp, I appreciate that. I've got a couple of questions. Just want to make sure, being it's a tree, a company that deals with tree removal, that there won't be any of the debris brought to that site and stored or dumped?
No.
Okay, all right. So it'll be, as far as the tree service is considered, it'll be for equipment parking only, all right? Will it be one building that's going to house the auto repair and the tree service, or those two separate buildings?
It's two separate, we're showing two separate buildings. One
Okay.
for his operation. And
Can you give me the size of those buildings approximately?
Yes, sir. That's 4,500 square feet.
Each?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Is 100 feet by 45 feet is what I have shown on the.
okay. And unless, I saw some of that information in here, obviously, the questions I want to get on the record. So the other question is, not having a sketch of the building itself, I'm going to say that most likely these will be either side entry buildings as far as any roll-up doors. Other than an entry door, it will be side or rear entry. Would that be true, where there would be no,
Yes, sir.
no roll-up doors that would face Highway 78?
That's correct. I have it shown, the office will be facing 78, and we do have side entry on the main road that comes in, and side entry, there's 3 bay each for that building as shown. So that's the roll-up door will be on the side.
Okay. In the auto repair portion of it, any cars that are there for repair, obviously with an auto repair, there may be at times where some of those vehicles have to be kept on premises overnight. Will those be stored where they're not visible from public?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can provide any fencing requirement.
In the rear? Okay.
And we can provide any fencing requirement for that storage area as deemed necessary in order to meet the outdoor storage requirement by county ordinance.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Any other questions from any other board member?
Yes. Will there be a maximum time for storage for vehicles? I know we run into problems with getting parts and so forth, but is there a time span to complete?
It's waiting for parts, sometimes, maybe like 2-3 days, out of repair shop waiting on commission or part of the back order. I see the average time being like 3 to 5 days sometimes.
What's the maximum number you're planning on allowing to be on property overnight or long period of time? Do you have an estimate?
Just based on experience, sometimes shops, they only, this doesn't happen very often, but sometimes when, like it does, I'm not sure really what the regulation is.
I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. If you don't mind, would you step up and give us your name and your address, and let us get you to answer those where we can get them also on the record? Thank you.
Jose Lemus, you say you need my address as well?
Yes, please.
566 Hoko Calimero Road.
Right, okay, thank you. And if you could continue to address his question, Tim's question regarding the number of vehicles that potentially would be on site at any given time.
So for, let's just say for my business, I have about combined trucks and skid steers or excavators, whatever, about 15 pieces of equipment. That's what I have. And as far as a mechanic shop, most of the times they keep about 15 to 20 cars on site. And as far as the long, period of time, it can vary. So I really don't have in a specific day to tell you 5 or 6 days. Because, sometimes, if a shop is waiting in a part or whatever.
Right, that's kind of a unknown. There's no way to know that per
Yeah.
vehicle. I got you.
So,
Okay. Tim, any further questions?
I'm good.
All righty. Anyone else have any questions?
I do. You operate the tree service, do you also own a mechanic shop?
No, I do have a friend that is interested in renting a facility. And, you know, we've been talking about, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for, so.
But you're not under contract?
No,
Okay.
no.
For clarification purposes, on the outdoor storage, are we talking like a fence in between the two buildings as you come into the drive? And so all the storage would be
Currently.
on the back side of the front
The
facade?
roll-up door would be on, between the two buildings where there's no parking there. The parking for customer will be in the front, and the roll-up door is in between those buildings, and any parking would be on the side of that.
Either on the side or on the rear of the building. Like, you can see to the left of the picture, the left side is a wider area. So, you know, if I have to make any accommodations where I'm not storing anything on the front end.
Yeah, it's most likely be over here, because the transitional buffer is coming there, so it most likely be right behind the building, either here or here.
Okay, how would it be accessed?
We have curb cuts
I mean,
here that can come around.
Aren't these two separate buildings
Yes, sir, it is.
and a drive in between?
Right.
And so you're going to add access to the back side of both of the buildings as well?
So when you come in, it would be like a split.
So the portion between the building and the right-of-way of the state highway there, when they come in the entry, they can turn?
Right, they can turn and access the storage area in the back through the access drive. Right.
Okay. And is that proposed to be paved?
Yes, it will.
Okay, you're just not showing it on this?
Right.
Side
It's, we can revise the drawing to show the storage for the auto repair. Which side?
And the tree service equipment will be in the same location, but for the other building?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And did you mention, is there a deceleration lane?
Yes, sir, we are proposing a 250 feet decel lane with a 100 feet taper. This is a split divided highway, so there won't be any left turn lane.
And that was, that kind of came tip from your conversation with DOT, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Appreciate it, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone here opposed to this request? Well, no opposition, so I will bring it back to the board for a motion. And I am going to make a motion for approval as submitted. Tip, I know that you've got everything under control with, as we mentioned, with state DOT there, so I don't feel like there's any need. That's well out of our control anyway, but we appreciate you taking the time. I meant to say that earlier, to get that resolved before you get here, because that's very helpful to us. So anyway, so my motion is for approval as submitted.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. This will move to the Board of Commissioners on March the 4th, okay? Thank y'all. Any comments regarding the last case from anyone? If not, we will move on. So next on our agenda for the evening is Z240067. This is to rezone 6.63 acres from A1 to A4 business license to raise show-quality poultry, fowl, and small pet parents. The applicant owner is Igor Mitrovic? Did I get close?
Actually, that's perfect.
A for me today. Property is located at 2435 Daniel Cemetery Road, and I assume, sir, you are the applicant. If you would step up, state your name and address, and tell us what your plans are with the property.
All right, good evening. My name's Igor Mitrovic, and I am the property owner for 2435 Daniel Cemetery Road. I did apply to rezone from A1 to A in order to raise small poultry, so chickens, turkeys, and primarily small pet parrots. And when I say small pet parrots is if you go to PetSmart or Petco, you know, the 8 to 10 inch ones, the cockatiels, sun conures, green cheeks, things like that. It's a passion of mine. Along with a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, I'd like to raise those for the pet industry. I bought this property earlier, we're in the new year, so March of '24 from a friend of mine, Tony Aston, that has lived there since '99. She actually was really, really big in poultry and is well known here in Walton County for raising a lot, and that's how we got to know each other a couple decades ago. So I would like to continue that and expand it a little bit more in my passion project, which is the small pet parrots that I've worked with for many years. So.
All righty.
that is
Thank
it.
you, sir.
Yes.
Questions from the board?
How many birds are we talking about?
We're talking about a total of maybe 800 birds total.
800.
Yes. When we're talking about the small pet parrots, the cockatiels, I know it sounds like a lot, but believe me, it's very inconsequential. When you're talking about the commercial breeders of these guys that are down in Miami and Florida is primarily where they raise them, we're talking 5, 10, 20,000 birds. So my operation is extremely small because it's just me that's doing it. I don't have employees. I don't plan on having employees. But I visited some of these commercial farms to see how they do it. I mean, we're talking like chicken house size. You're walking for forever, walking through thousands of birds. So in comparison to that, mine is a very personal, small project, not commercial at all.
It's already built on site, right?
It is, yes.
So, I know you said 800 is small. What happens if there's some type of outbreak, disease of the birds, biosecurity? What about that?
Absolutely. So I am actually USDA licensed for owning these birds. So I do get inspected by the federal USDA as well as Georgia Department of Agriculture. I do have a avian veterinarian that is licensed in this state, and she regulates my biosecurity procedures, my health care of the birds. That's part of the requirements for being USDA licensed to own these birds. So as far as outbreaks go, the roofs are all covered. There is no exposure to wild bird droppings, wild bird interaction. That's primarily, I know right now the current concern is the avian influenza. That's mostly spread by waterfowl that are traveling between bodies of water, as well as wild birds that sit on your cages and defecate on them. That's how it's spread, basically. So I have roofs on all of my parrots that basically prevent access from wild birds. So now, if there was an outbreak, of course, I would follow USDA guidelines. I am in constant contact with my inspector. She pops in unannounced, whenever she wants, basically, and to oversee my biosecurity procedures as far as tracking in feces, how to prevent that. We have foot baths, a lot of sanitation procedures that are just part of USDA requirements for this.
As far as waste management, how is that handled?
As far as waste, we don't produce a lot of waste. The way that my cages are set up, there's no litter, I should say. We don't use, like stalls have shavings that you apply, then have to pull back out and dispose of somewhere. All of my cages are wire bottom, so it's just bird droppings and stuff and we have paper underneath the cages, so when it's time to clean, we just roll it up, it gets bagged up and goes into a dumpster. We don't have like tons of shavings or any other byproduct like a farm or stall would to dispose of.
Okay, because I did have some concerns about that. I was When you say foul, I'm thinking these chickens and how that smell is, it cuts your air.
Are you familiar with Sarama chickens? It's one of the world's smallest chickens, so they're like this big. So that is mostly what I'm interested in. That is pretty much all that I have as far as perfecting their posture and breed. So they're very small chickens. These are not big chicken house meat chickens.
Are you planning to expand?
Like I said, it's just me. I don't plan to have employees. I don't want to go that route. It's just me and what I can handle. And what I have currently is pretty much what I can handle full time.
But you're proposing additional structures, right?
I'm proposing no more additional structures other than what's, I think if we, am I able to do this? If I can pull it, there's a picture on here of the last structure that was built. It's the metal building that's 30 foot by 80 foot. It's the second picture behind the house, if I can somehow view this.
Showing on the,
It is, like if I were to go to the home page of this. Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. So this building here is my main structure. There's two behind it here. You can barely see a green siding. Those are, I guess you would maybe consider them pole barns. It's a shelter with a roof and mesh sides to keep wild animals out. So it's open air, but it is enclosed, like an aviary. That's just to keep outside animals out. But I'm not proposing building any additional bird structures other than fencing, and I just had soil delivered. I want to do evergreens behind this building along the fence line. There's a privacy fence that goes along the back of this building that I'd like to do some green giants. So I just had soil delivered for that, just waiting for better weather. So there will be construction as far as that goes, but not additional buildings.
You mentioned turkeys in your presentation.
Yeah.
And there's a mention of geese in the, are those part of your production
As far as
currently, or-
business, no. I do have 10 geese on the property. They're just really good for grass control and insect control and waste, but I don't intend on producing those. But I do have 10 of them, and that's the max that's going to be there because geese can be a little bit annoying.
So the main breeding is just parrots?
It is. That is my primary. Everything else is, I would consider pets or, roaming yard birds.
And I'm going to assume, being that you've had to get your certification with the USDA, that you also have signage posted. That I think one of their requirements is that you have signage posted for the public or anyone that comes to your home to acknowledge the fact, really a safeguard for them as well as you, that they don't traffic into your area. And I know you said you had the washes and everything in place, which are part of it as well. Mm-hmm. So the safeguards, what I'm hearing, those safeguards have been all put in place, but you're not really going to be, these birds, when, I'm going to just simply guess you're not doing this just for fun alone, but for some profit there.
Correct.
And selling to pet stores and such as that. But that would be where you would take those to those locations. It would not be to where someone's coming to you for.
Absolutely.
There will not be any sales, is what I'm trying to say, that occurs on the premises.
Correct. As much as I like to think I'm a people person, I prefer to be with the animals. So yes, no customer contact on the property. I'm focused on just wholesale. So I deliver to the warehouse that then distributes it to the PetSmarts, Petco's, Pet Supermarkets. So I have no direct customer contact, and I prefer to keep it that way. So I like to be me, myself, and the animals, and then I will deliver in Atlanta to the warehouse and then That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
How noisy are these birds?
So parrots, generally, the large parrots can be extremely noisy. I don't like those either. I focus on just small birds. So this is your household pet that you might have in your living room. So chirps and chatters, very common. But as far as macaws, like the big guys that do the screeching that's really loud, I don't own those, and I do not ever plan to own those.
So would they be comparable to songbirds out?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so yes, perfect comparison.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the show quality poultry. How many of those birds do you have?
Couple dozen, 9 in one building. Yeah, so less than 20 at the moment, yeah.
Do you plan to increase the size of the poultry numbers you have on hand?
Possibly, I may possibly double it. It won't go above 40 chickens. Yeah. This is primarily for the small cockatiels and green cheek conures.
How noisy is the poultry?
So my Serrama chickens are very small. My parrots are actually a little bit louder than they are. The Serramas, you don't even know that they're there. The roosters, when they try to crow, it's quite adorable how what a failed attempt it is at crowing. So because they're this big, they're not loud.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone here in opposition of this request? Yes, sir. If you please come up and state your name and your address and tell us what your concerns are.
My name is Robert Connerly. I live at 2565 Daniel Cemetery. That's my parents sitting there. They've been there since 2000 or since 95. I live there as well with them. We strongly support people being able to enjoy their land and do what they want to do. Our concern is the noise. I've got pictures on my phone and video on my phone. I don't know how to relay that to where y'all can see all that. I took it all this afternoon knowing we were coming here this evening. Like I said, we're in complete support of people doing what they want to do, but I think the definition of what's acceptable and how much noise is okay for one person may or may not be okay for the other. I would like to refrain from my opinion of, I think they're loud, I think they're obnoxious, I think they ruin the serenity of being able to sit out at the campfire and enjoy the sunset when all you hear is squawk, 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 squawk. There's several, and now you're going to have to tell me the name of the birds, the large ones that are about this tall.
Yes, I do have 4 emus.
Yeah, there's some large birds there. I don't know what kind of noise they make. I just know that, and I don't know, I couldn't tell you when they moved in, but there's a structure behind this one that is more of your open aviary.
The green one, yes.
And it's lit up like a stadium at night. I mean, there's lights all over the place that used to not be there. And, now I look out across the yard and there's this big, huge lit up structure. And this structure I cannot see from our house because there's a large group of trees between us. But there's, in our opinion, a very large amount of noise that comes from right behind those trees where this building is a tremendous amount of noise. I don't really anticipate the smell issue like a chicken coop or poultry farm being a problem with the birds, but I didn't know how many there have. How many do you have there presently at this moment? All the ones that you said?
Yes.
So if he doesn't grow any bigger, then I don't anticipate any smell being an issue or anything like that. It's just the noise and the peaceful serenity of when they moved out there was no noise, and all of a sudden now today there is. We were a little bit unaware that you had purchased the property from Tony, so that was just kind of new to us. I don't know, does she still live there?
Yes.
Okay, well, like I said, we want to be friendly, we want to be neighborly, not really have any issue, but the noise is a definite concern, and they and I would like to just, comment for that.
All righty, thank you, sir. Any questions for the person speaking now in opposition? Thank you, sir. I'm going to allow you to come back up for, wait, just one second. Anyone else in opposition that's going to speak? Okay, now you can come back up for rebuttal. My bad.
Golly.
Mr. Robert, right? Yes. Thank you. Okay, so noise is a concern, absolutely. So, and I do apologize for the lights at night. I have been there late nights myself, so I have had the lights on, I will say, because I've been building some cages and been working. Once I finish here shortly, I don't anticipate that being a problem. The lights are going to be on a natural cycle, so if it's dark, it's dark for the birds as well. The lights have been mostly for me building and working, just pulling long hours. But if noise is a concern, I know I mentioned doing screening trees behind these buildings. So you're, remind me, are you on the other side? Are you the 40-acre property? Okay, gotcha. So I'm totally happy to stay down, and if you tell me, hey, plant evergreens right here so that I don't see or hear your stuff, we'll plant trees there by summer. Totally fine with that. So if there's any other screening that needs to happen, any trees or whatever you'd like to see done, let's meet and let's talk about it and tell me where you want screening. I'm totally happy to do that. My 4 emus, they are pets. They don't make any noise. They're completely quiet. They're prehistoric. You're welcome to come meet them. They're very friendly. They'll walk up to you. You can pet them. They'll sit down right next to you. They're very sweet. But those are just my 4 pets. So can I answer anything else?
Well,
Yeah.
it'll come from us.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yes, sir.
Sorry.
So I'm trying to look here on the documents that we have, and I'm going to ask you to answer this because I know you will get clarification if we need it. But it would appear to me that your buildings, if you enter from the street, that your buildings are on the right-hand side of your property line.
That's correct.
And it would appear then that the gentleman who spoke in opposition, his property adjoins you on the left property line?
That's correct. We have a property in between us, a 2-acre property that just kind of sits in between our 2 properties. And then my field back there, that's just a pasture land, I think borders Mr. Roberts.
So, but that's in between your buildings and, I mean, it looks like to me it's probably a couple hundred, maybe 300 to 400 feet. Is that true?
That is correct. It's at least that long.
Okay. In regards to lighting, I know that you mentioned that you guys are working back there, or you've been working back there and you have lighting. I particularly remember a case we had a couple years ago, and the gentleman, you know, what he had proposed, they were going to have lighting, and he was willing to work with downlighting, and we didn't get approved. But the fact of the matter is that if you wanted to pay Walton EMC to come out and install security lights from the front to the back of your property on every 25 feet, if you're willing to pay for them, they're willing to put them on your property.
I had them put one out by the mailbox.
But no, what I'm saying is that, in other words, lighting is something on this type of environment that people can have lighting. You can have lighting to do whatever that you may want to do. And so I just want to note that in other words, and what I'm trying to say is it can always be more evasive, is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yes.
It can always be more evasive. So anyway, any other questions from any of the board members?
With the lighting you're using right now just for building, you said?
Yeah, so my green buildings back there, I mentioned that they're open air. So the building itself is about 9 feet tall, and then a 4-foot section of it straight across is a mesh window for the birds to have fresh air. So the birds are within this pole barn or structure, and the lights are inside above the cages, but when you're looking at it from a distance, you see the lit up cages.
Okay.
Just for my clarification on this process.
Yes.
So the previous owner had this operation.
She had only chickens.
As a hobby or as a business?
Well, she was selling them. I don't know her process as far as how she was producing them for sale, yes.
Okay.
But as far as licensing.
Well, that's not part of this process, but, so you purchased the property, and you continued her operation, but you've already brought in a substantial number more
Of my small parrots.
of the parrots?
Yeah, she didn't deal with parrots.
Okay. All right, and you did not consult with planning and development for, as far as licensing and zoning requirements prior to doing that?
Correct, not until I kind of wanted to turn it into a business. Initially, it was my pets, my passion project, but I'd like to turn it into more of a business at this point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, I will bring this case back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this and pass it on to the Board of Commissioners.
All righty, have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say
I
aye.
have discussion.
Oh, well, my discussion will come after I take the vote, but if you want it other ways, I can do it the other way.
Well, can we have discussion prior to the vote?
We can have discussion right this very moment, sir.
Yes.
Is there any possible way to amend the motion to include landscaping to minimize the intrusiveness of the proposal?
So, and I want to clarify with you. So that was the reason for my questioning, and I know Tim made the motion, so Tim, certainly I'm going to turn this back to you, but I want to just state this. If you look at the draft that's on page 1 of our application, and it shows his buildings, which are just a short distance up the right-hand property line, the opposition that's here, that whole open area to the rear, plus the distance from there to their home, I don't have a scale, but I'm going to say it's 400 to 500 feet. Josh, clarify where you would want the screening that would protect the person that's here in opposition tonight, because there is a neighboring property between their building and that house.
There's this email.
I understand that.
So I'm saying, where are you proposing screening is what I'm trying to ask you.
Well, I think that the applicant and the adjoining property owners should have the opportunity to work that out.
The one that's here tonight.
Yes.
Not just the one that's.
Well, that's the only one that showed up with any concerns.
Well, we were forwarded an email that.
Yeah, we got a letter here.
From.
We got it from a gentleman that his son lives there. Yeah. Do we know which property was his, Sharna?
2435. 2435.
Can you tell me where that's located?
Well, let's see here.
Oh, no, they're 2425. Sharna, they're 2425.
Yes, the letter's 24.
Applicant's
Oh, sorry.
2435, sorry.
This one.
So it's on the other side.
Yeah, let's see. 2425. Yeah, so they live,
They're the ones right next to it.
To the right or left?
so here's his property.
Yep.
All right, and then, no, this is Igor's.
That's right. That's the applicant.
So
That one.
this property right here,
Okay.
that's directly beside of these buildings,
Okay.
is the one that sent this letter.
Okay. And so, Josh, would you say that because of the letter that we received, rather than the opposition here tonight, that you want the plantings where the applicant had indicated he had brought the soil in to put the evergreens behind the building between there and the other property line?
I think that I would propose that the motion include language that the applicant to discuss with all property owners landscaping that could potentially lessen the effects of the intrusive.
Well, but if we put in there for him to discuss it with them, I mean, that's not a stipulation or a condition of action, it's only a condition of having language.
Built the new building, right?
Who built the new building? Was that building there when you moved in?
The gray one?
Yes.
No, it was not.
You built that building? Okay.
Building.
There used to, that was a whole row of chicken pens that I cleaned out and built building there in place of the chicken pens.
Sharna, A property, A zoning for a farm building, is it still 100 feet from the property line?
50.
50? Do you know how far your building is from the property line?
I want to say I was told that it was 15 or 20 feet from the property line.
Okay, so you're non-compliant there.
I don't know how much trouble it'd be to relocate that building.
Do you have concrete floor under it? Yeah, that's problematic.
No problem, yeah.
I'm gonna, I mean, I want Josh to be able to get what he wants in here, but Josh, on top of what you're saying, I think there also needs to be language for any approval that there has to be a variance for the proximity of that building to the property line because it doesn't meet the standards of the county code.
I fully agree. I did not realize that it was constructed
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, he had it built.
Okay, so that's two things. Now, Josh, tell me, where is the most concern? I mean, just so that I can say, or Tim could say, we would like to have evergreen plantings in this area.
Which area are we talking about?
Let me tell you where I'm going. And if I'm not alone, we're going to discuss, so this is open for all of us to discuss. I think to have it put 400 feet away is ridiculous, to have plantings 400 feet away when you got an open pasture or an open area that already gives a buffer. That's my opinion, but that's just mine.
I think the close property line makes sense. Which would be
I mean,
people.
I understand that, but an open pasture does not restrict noise.
So what you would be satisfied with is the
based
evergreen
on
plantings
the-
around the entire property?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I necessarily know the exact location where landscaping would be beneficial. But I think that there needs to be some discussion. Maybe this needs to be tabled until next month.
That was going to be my,
And the charge to the applicant is that the property owners sit down and discuss what mitigating factors could be proposed.
Okay. Tim Kemp?
that was going to be my change of amendment to table this until next month, so that they have.
So you're going to remove your motion for
Remove my
approval?
motion, yes.
And make a motion to table this until next month?
And the applicant and the neighbors discuss what's suitable.
Okay, and I have one more question from board member. Go ahead.
You stated that I guess where your building is was an existing something. Did you pour the concrete slab also, or was the concrete already there?
I poured the concrete slab.
Okay.
and placed the chicken pens that was there.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kemp,
Yes, sir.
I will take a motion.
Motion that this be tabled until next month, that the owner of the property and the oppositions in the neighborhood come to some kind of suitable agreement. I guess I need to ask Shauna a question after this meeting.
Okay, and that discussion would be in regards to potentially the screening that was brought up
Yes.
by Josh Ferguson.
And we would really need a site plan
Okay.
that shows how close that building is to the property line
Yes.
for that variance.
Okay. And Sharna, I mean, the variance will have to go before the variance board, correct?
No, it can be done
We
by
can
the
do
Board
it
of
here.
Commissioners
Okay.
with the
All right.
rezone.
So you got some homework. Let me tell you the best thing for you to do is to make a call later, first of next week, to Sharna's office and discuss the things that you're going to need to have in hand for our next meeting, as well as what the board here has required or requested that you do action-wise between now and then, okay? All right. So I have a motion from Timothy Kemp to table this till next month. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Anyone opposed? And we've already had our discussion, so we will move on with our last case for...
Chairman, point of order. There was a motion on the floor. Does that need to be?
Well, we never seconded that motion, and I did ask as part of the public format if he wanted to remove that, and he indicated, yes, I do want to remove that motion.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So are we good there? Okay, thank you. So our next case is Z250001 to rezone 2.22 acres from R1 to A in a conditional use for short-term rental and small events and appeal ADA requirements. Applicant is Ben Myers, owner Table Ventures LLC, properties located at 4850 Center Hill Church Road. Is that applicant here? Yes, sir. If you please step up, state your name, address, and tell us what your plans are for this property.
Hello, my name is Ben Myers, and I'm the owner of 4850 Center Hill Church Road. I live here in Monroe, 1523 Roscoe Davis Road currently. I used to live at this property for a couple of years. It is a historical home built in the 1920, and we basically want to rezone it from R1 to A so that we can use it as a short-term rental property. So there's actually two homes on this site. There's the main home in the front, and then there's the original house in the behind it. So we basically, they're both finished spaces that we'll want a short-term rental both houses. So the main house is about 1,900 square feet, and the little house in the back, which was the original home built in the 1800s, is about 320 square feet. So it's like a little cabin type in the back. So we also conditional use for small events. We're looking to, a small wedding, it's 2.2 acres, so you can't have large, events, but we've had, parties over there, with over, 50 to 80 people there. There's plenty of parking in the rear. It's all open space, grass parking in the back. And, but that's pretty much it. Also, ADA, we want to not do ADA since it's a historical home as far as, it's just not ADA. We don't want to have to open the doorways and do the ramps and all that stuff, so we're just going to have it. It's not handicap accessible, basically. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the applicant?
Yes, I have some questions. Is the property personally rented out right now? Somebody living there?
No, it's empty currently.
It's vacant?
Mm-hmm.
And you've had how many people at a party over there?
I guess we've had some reception from my cousin, and family gatherings over there, and we've had well over 50 people over there, at different parties through the years,
Like a family reunion.
Yeah, we've had family parties. It's been in our family, the home, since 1970, and I've got it through. My granddad's brother lived there then, and then my grandpa got it, and now we have it, so.
The ADA requirements are not county requirements, that's state and federal requirements. You've got it in here to be approved on the appeal process, but that, you're talking state and federal American Disability Act.
But as far as the zoning, it's not a commercial property as far as that. It's the short-term rental is what we're looking
Right, so the zoning pulls into the ADA under commercial, correct, Josh?
Yeah, you would be turning this property into a commercial property.
But
With the small event facility.
with the conditional use rather than zoning, would that convert it?
Yes, it's the use that requires the,
Okay,
yeah, it's the
Okay.
transition of the use.
okay. So conditional use, even without being zoned, commercial would require ADA approval?
Yes.
Okay.
This was specific, like when we got the paperwork from the county, it said that the ADA requirements were for the short-term rental. Didn't even ever mention it for small events. So this is specific to short-term rentals, and the short-term rental, I've never been to one Airbnb anywhere that has had handicap accessible. This has been a rental home in the past. As a rental home, it's been fine, no issues. But now when we want to change the type of rental, now we have to.
Well, the rental for the residential property, that would not be the requirement. What we're saying is the conditional use for the structure that's going to be used for an event facility, that would be the one that changes.
Okay.
Not the rental house, because just because people rent houses all over this country, and those are not ADA required. But the conditional use, as Josh stated, the conditional use for the usage of an event facility, therefore that conditional use would transfer the ADA requirement, because that's for the public, not for a residential site, public use.
Okay, it just didn't mention it like in the county paperwork for small events.
The county paperwork does not mention every requirement that you have to meet for any type of business. It's up to you and your professionals to know the building codes that go along with different uses.
Okay.
Well, it did say it in the short-term rental county thing. It said to meet ADA requirements for the short-term rental as well, and that's why we said, we don't want to do that for a short-term rental. We'll just put on our, listing that it's not handicap accessible, and that's what we're wanting to appeal for that.
That's correct.
So what happens if you're renting it out and you have someone that has a physical ability that needs ADS?
They can't rent the space, so it would be in that this is a historical home and it's not, acceptable for, handicap accessibility.
But even with historical homes, you have to have some type of reasonable accommodation according to the ADA requirements.
Well, I'm getting a bit confused myself, because, this is something I do every day of my life. And I could carry you to 20,000 homes or 100,000 homes that are being rented today that are not compliant with ADA.
Right, that's why we're confused.
They're residential, a residential rental does not fall under ADA when someone decides they want to build a house and they have, think about all the times and the people you see, nonprofits that work with people who now are disabled that come in and help them build ramps and stuff, or people who's had to change construction of their homes because a family member. But those houses were not mandated when they were built to be ADA compliant. And those properties can be resident. There's whole neighborhoods that are developed now as single-family homes, and they're not ADA required. So wherever, I don't see where that would be even part of the equation when it's a residential property.
We're talking.
Well, because it's listed in the,
No, John, I'm not talking about the event. I'm talking about the short-term rental. I'm not talking about the event facility. I'm talking about the short-term rental house.
it is listed in our uses for the short-term rental that they have to be ADA compliant. That's why they're asking for this waiver. You're right, all rental homes are not ADA compliant, but because it is listed in our code, that's why they're asking for the waiver.
So when we adopted short-term rental ordinance, right, it was specifically put in that ordinance that the short-term rentals have to be ADA compliant.
Got you.
So
But if it's if it were somebody who just say, if I wanted to rent my house tomorrow, that's not considered short-term rental. That's me renting the property for a lease period or whatever, and that's, I don't have to become compliant for that.
They're talking
It's the-
Airbnb.
Right, it's because of its business use.
Yes.
I got you.
So to John's point, where we don't have the authority to waive
Correct.
ADA,
Correct,
we do in this instance for the short-term rental.
correct. Because it was something we added to our code.
Right.
Yes,
That's
I'm agreeable to that.
But I don't think that we have the ability to waive ADA requirements for
The event facility.
facility.
No, I'm in agreement with that as well.
Okay, and is it different? I guess I've called about this in the past and talked to planning and zoning like way in the a long time ago, and it wasn't mentioned, but is it because, does it have something to do with now being instead of residential with conditional use? If it was zoned to A with conditional use, is that the difference? Or-
I really don't think so from my understanding of the way that you're asking for it and the way that our code is written regarding short-term rentals. I don't think that really is going to make that big a difference if it were A1. I don't really think that's not the subject. What the deal is, as Josh pointed out, when we adopted our short-term rentals, then within that said that those had to be, or they had to meet ADA, which means if someone's going to do VRBO, whatever, if that's your intent, that creates a business. So that's what we consider a short-term, that creates a business environment. So therefore, it has to have ADA. For that short-term rental, we do have the ability to say we created that, so we could give you the option of we could drop it for that particular property with understanding it's a historical home, okay? It doesn't need to be, or we don't want to modify. But when it comes to the other home that you're wanting to do the event facility, our hands are tied. We cannot reduce that because that is a place that would bring together people in an environment, even if it's a conditional use, it still creates, and even if the zoning's there, it's because of the use that you're requesting. That use would say you have to be ADA compliant there. Yeah, because you guys can, here's the deal, you cannot control it. When you have a party now that you bring your friends, that's a controlled environment, okay? But when you start opening this up to where you are charging people to come, you cannot, by law, discriminate because someone in that group that wants to attend the wedding is disabled. So therefore, that's where this comes into play, okay?
Yes, sir. Could I ask one question?
You can ask two if you want.
So I'm understanding that the small event won't work unless it's ADA. But in the future, which I'm okay just taking that off just for the sake of moving on, like if we took it off and then took it off from the proposal today, as far as the small events, and then in the future if we wanted to pursue it. But if in the future we did do, if we had like a pavilion that was accessible for handicap and had all the ADA requirements for the pavilion only,
Right.
or would it have to be every single
Well,
building on the property? Does that make sense?
That's not a question that this board can answer.
Yeah, really, no.
The
Planning and development,
Is your ultimate?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're talking about two different things. We're talking about zoning categories, and then we're talking about building occupancy requirements, all right? And this board has nothing to do with building occupancy requirements. But we know that fire marshal occupancy requirements for a public use, which the event facility would be, requires ADA standards.
Is your ultimate goal to make this a wedding venue and then allow people to spend the night
yeah,
after the wedding?
that's been my dream.
That's her
Okay.
dream. This
Yeah.
is my wife, by the way.
So,
If that's the case, then I would suggest consulting with an architect
Okay.
to find out because they know the building code requirements, and there might be some ways that you could meet ADA requirements without completely messing up the whole structure.
And maybe hold off on the rezone until you get a little more due diligence done and have all your ducks in a row.
I have to rezone for Airbnb purposes. So if it's okay with y'all, I don't even know if I can amend it this time, but just completely take off the small events and just keep the short term for this meeting purpose.
I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, we're truly rezoning for the short-term rental, and we were just adding on while we're doing it. Let's go ahead and get it where we can do events, small
Okay.
events as well, kind of thing. So if we're fine with just doing the short-term rental.
That's fine.
We can do that. I've got one question, and then I think we have one more. Sharna, this is, so are we cool on this?
We are.
It's the thoroughfare? It meets our requirements that we
Yes.
put for?
Center
Okay,
Hill.
we're good there? Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, the short-term one you're wanting to do, is it the house that's closest to Center Hill Church, or are you talking about one of the two historic buildings?
Both are historic, both houses also.
Yeah, it's the one.
The one at the very
White
front's
House at the
not.
front. That was built in 1920, and then
Oh, okay.
the main house was built behind it first, the original house, and then the kids built that White House in the front, the family that owned it.
Okay, I was going by, it said structure 1 and 2 or the two at the back, and that's why I was trying to figure out if the front, now I got you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But these are not on a National Historic Registry, are they?
No, I would love to go through that process, but I haven't yet. We've like babied this thing, so it's beautiful, but
So, any other questions from the board before I make my comment?
We're just talking about the one house in the back then?
Both houses for the short-term rental.
What?
Both.
Both?
Both houses for short-term rental.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
There's not a structure in the back where it says structure 2. I don't know what
oh
that
no,
is.
that's the site map that I presented for the temporary small event thing.
Oh, that's for a tent.
Oh, the
Okay.
tent.
For a tent, yeah.
So the house is the one with the fence in the front, that's the White House, and then the one behind it, right behind it's got the driveway to it, that was the original
Okay.
house.
And y'all are only wanting short-term rental on one of the property, one of the homes, is that
Well,
correct?
both of 'em.
Oh, you want it on both of them?
One of them's a little, small little cabin, and
All right.
the other one's a 3-bedroom house.
Got you. Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone here in opposition to this? No one in opposition. Any further discussion? I'll get that in up front.
Yeah, I got some questions.
Okay, and before, John, before you ask your questions, let me make this comment. So with the planning and development being, or giving approval, we're going to remove anything, any portion of this request for any type of event facility, any motion that would be made tonight would be simply for both of these properties to be considered short-term rentals. And with that, John, any comments that you have? And also, once John finishes comments, anybody else has anything, please let me know.
What about the public works comments? Are they still in force here?
Which ones in particular?
Well, the one about the commercial driveway.
That would be for the event facility.
If approved for.
But since they're dropping the event facility,
We can drop that one.
Yes.
And then the sheriff's department also.
Right.
Yes.
And those would be recommendations that were in our pamphlet for us. They're not conditions that, unless we make them a condition.
And you said we can drop our ADA requirements?
Yes, sir.
That the county has?
for the short-term rental.
For short-term rental? Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
If no questions, then I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I make a motion to approve case number Z250001 as amended.
Okay? And again, for clarity, the amendment is for both of these properties to become short-term rentals with ADA removal. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one opposed. This will move to the Board of Commissioners March the 4th, okay? Thank y'all. All right, we have reached the end of our meeting. Anyone here have any public comment? Sir, you have been here all night. You didn't have anything to bring before us. You didn't get up here and... Oh, okay, with the folks that were just here. Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate having y'all here tonight. I didn't want to not take the opportunity to, you know, y'all been very patient sitting out there. Yeah. Thank y'all for being here. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Very good. Well, we thank you so very much. With that, I will take a motion to.
Wait a minute.
I forgot. We got to do some in-house work.
We need to
My bad.
open the floor to nominate as chairman.
Motion.
I nominate Tim Hinton.
Okay, I think that Josh and Coach Kemp both said Tim Hinton.
Second. Third.
Wesley, seconds and third.
I guess.
Any other nomination? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Co-chair.
Tim Kemp.
Second.
Any other motion?
I shouldn't have inhaled.
Nope. Should we ask for
Okay, Tim. All right, thank y'all. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Now I will take a motion for dismissal.
I shouldn't have inhaled, Tim Hinton.
Huh?
I should not have inhaled just then.
Who's got my motion?
I make a motion.
Got a motion. I have a second?
Second.
All in